Hi, I'm Cameron McKenzie. I'm the editor-in-chief over at the serverside.com, and I want to talk to you about 5 of my favorite Java build and deployment tools. So number 1 on that list is Maven. Maven is an XML-based build tool with an amazing plugin environment. All sorts of plugins for doing things like static code analysis, moving code into a Docker container, pushing things to a Tomcat server, not to mention just facilities for managing build quality and packaging your applications into WAR files, jar files, and even pushing them to Maven repositories like Nexus or Artifactory. So Apache Maven to me is number 1. Apache Maven is burdened a little bit by its XML heritage. As a result, tools like Gradle have come out that pick up on some of the best aspects of Maven, but then build a external programming model powered with Groovy around it, and it really steps up the game. Now, I guess Gradle's kind of thought of as a build tool, but the API that they have is amazing, and it just keeps growing, and you can do more and more with their API tool every time a new release comes out. So yeah, you can use Gradle to do a build, but if you want to deploy your applications to a remote server, you can script that. If you want a routine to occur every 20 minutes, you can script that. If you want to push to a Maven repository, send something to an OpenShift container, you can do that. So Gradle is really an amazing build tool and deployment tool that, I don't know, I think if I was creating a new project, I'd probably think heavily about doing my builds and deployments with Gradle. Now, you can't talk about deployment and continuous integration without talking about Jenkins. Jenkins also is a great tool. It can actually work really well with Maven. It can work well with Gradle, and it too has Groovy built in as its external programming model. So if you want a nice continuous integration tool that works well with other tools, also has a fantastic plugin architecture, and can really orchestrate all aspects of your deployment, well, Jenkins CI is definitely a tool you want to be thinking about adopting. Now, I think it's also worth mentioning CA release automation, and for Docker containers and Kubernetes kubeship, CA release automation, I when I first saw it, I don't know if I was overly impressed by it, because it seemed that some things that were simple to do would be easier to do maybe just with Jenkins. But then I realized the real power of CA release automation is when you have complex builds. And so I don't know, maybe it makes simple things not look too impressive, but once you get into it, it starts making the really hard things look easy. And the really hard things, doing the really hard things, are really where enterprise developers cut their teeth. So multi-tier deployments, enterprise scale deployments, release management as well. Uh, you know, I think CA release automation, kubeship, and the various tools that fall under that umbrella are all worth taking a look at. And number 5 here, I'd put in GitLab. And the thing about GitLab is that, of course, it's tied tightly to Git. I mean, that's its name. But they've built a number of tools around Git and around source code that allow you to do full-scale continuous integration and continuous delivery. So the nice thing about GitLab is that it's sort of a suite of tools that go beyond just the basics. And so if you're looking at one tool that can manage all aspects of the application lifecycle, including deployment, and you don't want to pull together a bunch of different best-of-breed solutions, but you want one solution that can work from start to finish, GitLab is an excellent tool to entertain. And there's also other vendors in this space. JetBrains has a great suite of tools. Atlassian, of course, is very popular. So those are a couple of competitors to GitLab in this space, all of which have, complete application suites that can do application deployment. And, finally, I might say, the last thing that you might want to do, include in your deployment tool suite, is just having a good knowledge of low-level tools. And that means knowing how WSFTP works, knowing how the Java compiler tool works, knowing how WinSCP and basically all of these little utilities, how they work. Because, that's not going to be your, you know, day-to-day continuous delivery framework. But when things go wrong, knowing how to use those tools can really come in handy. Anyways, that's it. It's just a look at 5 of what I think are some of the great options that are available if you're looking at adopting a new deployment tool for your enterprise Java framework.